So I know my father was stationed in California at some point because he told me that's how he got his 1,000-mile-an-hour patch. Some pilot on one of the Navy bases took him up in a fighter jet, broke the sound barrier, but fucked up and flew down through the Grand Canyon, which is illegal in the Navy because the loudness and all that stuff that happens can cause avalanches and rocks to fall and thus change the natural landscape. I don't remember how he explained it. So Dad got his 1,000-mile-an-hour patch, but the guy got his wings yanked for 90 days. So my guess is that whoever Bob McNamara was working with, who was over my father, might have been Bob McNamara himself. I imagine they would want to keep it as close to the Kennedy clan as possible because, I mean, you're killing Marilyn Monroe, a famous movie star that everybody loves, and they're going to want justice. So maybe they told Dad and had Dad get in the car or had Dad meet him at the brother-in-law, the Hollywood brother-in-law beach house where JFK was hooking up with Marilyn Monroe, someplace private that wasn't, because in the White House everything's recorded. JFK set up recordings everywhere, and then he put on a lot of that was theater. He did that to make it look like he was the good guy and everybody else was the bad guy, and it's all optics that he learned from Joe Kennedy, a Hollywood studio mogul. So I'm guessing Dad said, okay, recorded it, and that was just to appease them so he could go make copies and get it distributed throughout his other special forces people in the military, and then at some other point tells McNamara, Marilyn Monroe's house is bugged by Hoover, and it's under surveillance. So if I go in there and kill her for you, Hoover's going to know I did it, and all my buddies throughout the military are going to come forward with the tape of you telling me to do it. So at that point, the Kennedys knew they had to do it themselves. And I guess it was Bobby decided he had to do it. And that's another reason why the military people whoever the military people were who ultimately shot JFK, did it because the Kennedys are pussy-ass bitches who want people dead but don't have the guts and the moxie to do it themselves. They set somebody else to do it and pander saying, oh, you're helping your country, you're serving your country. You're helping us, and we're out here really trying to change the world. Talked all that shit about, oh, we're against the war, we're going to bring the boys home. Meanwhile, it was all bullshit. McNamara was profiting from the war, not only from the gun sales to the American military, but through third parties selling the guns, weapons, and ammunition to the Viet Cong that were used to kill our military. That's the ultimate betrayal. You want to be part of a fucking killer criminal enterprise, but you don't want to do your own wet work. You want to set somebody else up to do it. So you people here in Vermont, when I tell you you're being set up, motherfuckers, that's exactly what I mean. And you're too busy hoping to get the White House, and you think you really think the Trump administration, which includes RFK Jr., is going to investigate itself properly? Really? And when Bobby's lying to you, telling you, I just want to kick it on Camelot and just celebrate with the Kennedys, he knowingly lied to you because he sent that guy to test me. Oh, Teddy Kennedy, the Kennedys were so good to me. They're just such wonderful people. And I said, because you're a white male. If you were a woman or you were black or you were gay or whatever, they wouldn't have done a fucking thing for you. So he already knew I wasn't the loyalist I was pretending to be. So you've got him through that guy. You've got him dead to rights for capital homicide. Multiple capital homicides. Now, yes, after he went on the Jimmy Dore show and was pandering with all that bullshit, and I baited him with, oh, yes, please be president. It'd be poetic justice. He probably thought he won me over, but wasn't sure. So then he sends 2 other guys to talk about the Kennedys. And I'm wearing my Kennedy hat, and I'm looking like, yeah, I'm Team Kennedy. All the propaganda was wrong. He was a victim of propaganda. I played that cocksucker like a Stradivarius. But I also kept telling you here in Vermont to set up secure communications. And Sarah George, you're supposedly a progressive. You're the state prosecutor. You can't put it all off on Mulvaney Stanek. Or, put it all off on Weinberger, because you had options too. Bernie tried the best he could, but his hands are tied. Cousy, on the other hand, ain't got no excuses either. They could have interviewed me right there in the goddamn... They could have set up secure comms by having me come right down there to their fucking office 3 minutes from the goddamn transit center to talk to the victim's advocate. Am I mad at anybody? No. I'm frustrated as fuck because I tried to tell you all right. You didn't listen. You were chasing Kennedy clout. You were chasing power. You thought you were going to somehow help Bobby Kennedy solve the MLK murder assassination, which was ultimately the Kennedys, because they kept Hoover, and Joe Kennedy kept Hoover as FBI director. Hell, he tried to make him president. Hoover said, I got more power not being president. And why did Joe Kennedy want Hoover as president? Because they were both anti-communist, pro-Nazi pieces of shit. And with Joe Kennedy being a Hollywood whatever, he taught his kids, okay, I fucked up. You got to make it look like you're not part of, that you have nothing to do with me. And they admit that. But they sell it as, the Kennedys really fought. They didn't bow down to Joe. They really weren't. They fought. They rebelled against Joe Kennedy. And everybody bought that bullshit because we couldn't conceive, or most people couldn't conceive of that corruption. I could, but that's why they did so many admissions on all those, let a lot of those documentaries fly where they're basically admitting that the Kennedys were just trying to distance themselves from the humiliation of Joe Kennedy being forced to resign for being pro-Hitler. And these YouTubers, Glenn Kushner definitely needs to be under investigation. That pandering SOB, that guy pandered so hard, even leaving legacy media. And they kept pandering harder and harder because I kept calling everybody out on their bullshit. Bobby knew at some point we were going to go public, and he needed to try to convince me that I was supposed to die for him. That's what you tell all the girls, you sorry motherfucker. And then when we say, no, bitch, we're not dying for you, oh, I'm the problem. I'm not for the cause enough. I just want to go enjoy the spoils on Camelot. No, I want Camelot confiscated. I want those assets seized. I want that motherfucker burnt to the ground. I wasn't ever trying to get justice for the Kennedys. They got their karma. I was trying to get justice for Marilyn Monroe and all these other people you got killed for matters of national security, and set somebody else, including my father, again to take the fucking fall. And my mother and all my extended family. Which means even if they were selling drugs for the Clintons, you were part of that too, motherfucker. You think McNamara didn't know that they were flying in all those drugs on military planes? Frank Lucas was basically used and abused like everybody else. And Diddy, his father, was part of Frank Lucas's crime family. Diddy's going to walk. Trump's going to let Diddy walk, especially since Trump's a not so former Democrat. All that shit Diddy talked about Trump, that was acting. That was acting. You know how Trump gets when somebody speaks ill of him? He gets an attitude, but he doesn't say nothing negative about Diddy because he knows it's acting. Don't kill anybody else for these motherfuckers. Don't let yourself get set up. Don't say I didn't tell you. I told you to get secure comms and you refused. If Sarah George has to fucking get me a hotel or pick up the phone and call economic services her damn self, but you don't have to do that. You got that LGBT organization, Hope, or whatever it is, that's listed on the domestic violence, the people that got me the hotel room that one weekend. You can call them and say, Steps isn't helping this lady because she's gay. Would you please act as her victim's advocate and call economic services and get her a hotel room on the goddamn domestic violence grant? I'm still a victim of domestic violence and trafficking, but my parents just ain't part of it. They're pretending to be until I get secure comms, and then once I get established to secure comms and somebody's going to look at this fucking objectively, then yeah, they'll be more than happy to come out here but you can't pick up the phone and call them knowing all the bad guys are listening, knowing Dad still answers to the Department of Defense and his brother still answers to the Department of Defense. And all the civilians still answer to Virginia G. Piper and Darla Munoz at Homeland Security. We have to maintain appearances. Then maybe they'll come out here and sit down with you and tell you what's going on. But they're not going to spend the money to come out here, send somebody, a family member. They don't all need to come. And you damn sure ain't getting whatever Dad's recordings are and whatever else he's got. And it probably ain't just him. He was working with a team of people. The entire U.S. military knows that the people above them are corrupt. There are a few sycophants that are more than happy to be Nazis. But there's plenty who aren't. They know that it doesn't get anybody anywhere. The biggest majority are not, and they're more than happy to help you weed those people out. And then what they ultimately do will convert them from liabilities into assets. However they do that, they're special forces style. My dad's people are special forces. That's what they do. They convert people. Now we know a lot of people can't be converted because they've got narcissistic personality disorder. Doesn't mean that we have to just... It means they can be killed and that's it. They're terrorists to the core. That doesn't mean we want to do that. I'm just saying. We have a lot more understanding. And we wouldn't have what we have. We wouldn't have the understanding about our evidence that we do if it wasn't for Senator Sanders running for president in 2016. That's not to say Dr. West doesn't deserve a bunch of credit, and Dr. Abdullah and Dr. Stein and her running mate, can't think of his name right now, but all of them got their platform because of Bernie running in 2016. And it wasn't Bernie so much that I learned from. I understood instinctively that what he's saying was right and just, but I'm not educated like that. So I had to really join. It was the second time he ran when I started friending other people who supported Bernie Sanders and read their posts, because they put everything in lay terms that I can understand. And anybody who argued with them, they argued with those people in the comments and on posts so that I could understand it. That's where I learned. I learned from Bernie's constituents, not necessarily from him directly. He's way above my freaking pay grade. But that's a good thing, because that's ultimately how you bridge the gap between a top-down audit and a bottom-up audit. You get to see the whole picture, why the numbers at the top ain't working out, and all of us down here going, we're spending all this money, why don't we have what we're supposed to have? So it answers both questions. So me and my family ain't in no hurry to make y'all look bad. But you've got to help us help you. There are certain things, we do things the military way. We understand that if you don't have secure comms that the enemy can't listen to, we got to keep playing charades, and people are going to keep dying. You don't get to say, well, if we set up secure comms, they'll quit killing people and we won't be able to get to... Do you know how asinine that is? How did you not see through that from New York? Let me answer that question for my parents. Because my parents are saying, well, you got Sarah George, she's a lawyer. You got Mulvaney Stanek, she's the top mayor. When I called lawyers in Buffalo, they said, there's so many aspects to this racketeering that you need a big firm with a lot of money and a whole lot of different lawyers and a lot of different specialties to investigate it. Okay? Vermont is a tiny little town. Yes, it is progressive as much as it can be, but because it doesn't have sophisticated lawyers and uncorrupted lawyers, it's woke. They're saying one thing, but doing something completely different. And that includes their goddamn governor. And most of them just don't even understand that they're being led down the wrong road. And that's basically what the Kennedys are. They're woke. They say one thing, but at the end of the day, they're doing something completely different. And making a whole lot of their partners in crime look bad, and screwing a whole lot of people and getting a whole lot of people killed, including their own fucking military. And they sent a lot of special forces into Vietnam who got killed, traumatized, all for their fucking profit with McNamara. Yeah, McNamara served, but he's not enlisted. Went to Harvard and whatever. He was the president or CEO of Ford Motor Company. The JFK administration really doesn't look any different than Trump's, to be perfectly honest. And that goes to Hoover, that goes to McNamara. I haven't looked at all his other appointments, but I promise you, if you go look at all of them and read their credentials and how they're part of the power construct. And he appointed Republicans and Democrats. LBJ was another corrupt son of a bitch. who apparently had been involved in several murders, and he was a womanizing piece of shit too. And Maureen Callahan's book points out that JFK was no different than Biden. Everybody's blasting the Democrats for hiding Biden's illnesses, in fact, that he's really unfit for office. And I promise you, JFK was no different. Just because JFK's illnesses and physical incapacities weren't obvious to the public, the press and everybody around him covered it up. And he was very hardcore drug addict, just like Marilyn Monroe. So make fun of Hunter Biden and Donald Trump and Elon Musk all you want to. JFK was no different. And I think even Jackie ended up getting addicted at one point to methamphetamine, the doctor who was shooting him up with methamphetamine. And JFK even says, do you really want to do that? She says, I'm getting a whole lot more done now. So the Kennedys do not deserve your sympathy, your admiration, or your trust. They pandered to JFK just like they're pandering to the modern day